Now, it's the first time we're hearing the mention of a chair in this house. Where did Longwe run to? If you believe that these confessions were made freely and voluntarily, come here. If you actually believe that the accused wrote these confessions, he's shy.
And I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party. Pigs felt like I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I pull in a 10. Like Daddy, Stacy, all of the Barbies is pretty damn. All of the Barbies is bad.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Nogwazi Ntombela, also known as Gwazi Bear on all social media platforms. Do subscribe, be a part of this family, and if you're returning subby, welcome back, darling. Let us get right into it. Let's not waste time because what is this? What is this? Okay, firstly, before I get into the proceedings of Monday the 18th, I just want to ask a few questions. Because there's no way that there are still people that believe, one, that these confessions were taken freely and voluntarily, and two, that the accused actually wrote these confessions. There's no way. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is, why are these confessions so different? Why are these confessions so different? And I know some of you will say, no, someone was trying to misdirect the police. Guys, come on. Ayikho lento nishoyo niyagola la emakhandeni. Okay, right, so Muzi's confession was heard last week. So many contradictions. I'll get into those at the end of my video. Ntanzi's confession to Rapadu was also read out, guys. No matches whatsoever to a confession ga Muzi. I'll get into that later. And another one by Cronje that we got into on Monday, I will get into that a little later. But before I start with the proceedings, I just want to talk about one. Right. Ntanzi made confessions to Rapadu on the 19th of June. These were freely and voluntarily taken, as most people believe and as the judge has ruled. Right. Ntanzi goes to Cronje on the 24th of June, 5 days later. Right, and he does another confession freely and voluntarily. Tell me why these confessions are different. Does it make sense to you that a person can do two statements or two confessions 5 days apart and have so many different facts about the confessions? Does it make sense? Not to me. Now, the state has been going on and on about the presence of Mjiyako and the fact that Ntanzi was represented. Now, my question is, if Ntanzi really was represented, why would Ntanzi's attorney misrepresent facts to the magistrate? Okay, if it wasn't him, we're going to blame Ntanzi and say, no, Ntanzi is the one that misrepresented facts. Why would Ntanzi not tell Magistrate Cronje that he made a statement 5 days prior? How would that help him? Think about it. Right. And if Mjiyako was indeed there and was indeed representing the accused, why is it that Mjiyako allowed his client, sorry, my thing went off. Why would Mjiyako allow his client to lie to a magistrate and say he hasn't made a confession prior when he actually has? You need to ask yourself some serious questions because, child, it makes no sense. Now, it is clear to me that every time a magistrate is involved, there's misrepresentation of facts. We already saw the misrepresentation of facts when Gininda got the J50 warrants of arrest for all the 5 accused, because he said that their address was unknown, knowing very well that these people are in prison. Now, Magistrate Cronje is taking a confession and she's been told that Ntanzi has never made a confession when 5 days prior, he made a confession to Rapadu. Something is cooking. Something is cooking there. Now that that is out of the way, let us get into the proceedings for Monday the 18th of March. Right, so basically, Magistrate Cronje is back in court to read out Ntanzi's confessions. Should I still be calling them confessions? Because we've now found out that it's actually it wasn't a confession and it's actually a statement. Interesting times. Right, Magistrate Cronier reads Ntanzi's confession, and the first thing that we have picked up on, okay, before we get into the confession, please tell me why Judge Ratha allows Baloyi to lead evidence in Afrikaans. I'll wait. Because this is still biasness, basically, by the judge. All along, Baloyi has been leading every single witness in English, whether the witness opted to speak Sepedi, whether they opted to speak Zulu, whether they opted to speak Afrikaans. Baloyi has been leading in English. Now that Magistrate Cronier is in court, mind you, even prior when she came to testify, Baloyi did try to do these stunts, and Mshololo objected, and the judge then said Baloyi should be leading in English. Today, Baloyi leads in Afrikaans. Mshololo objects yet again, and the judge is like, no, there's no basis for the objection. Excuse me? Why are the proceedings now changing to Afrikaans? Because why is the court speaking Afrikaans? Why? What was the reason? Does that not confuse the record? Because there's an interpreter. If Mefro Cronier decides that she wants to lead her evidence in Afrikaans, she wants to give her evidence in Afrikaans, by all means she can do so. But why is Baloyi speaking Afrikaans? It did not make sense, and it did not make sense for Judge Ratha to allow that to happen. That's the first thing. Let's get into the confession. So the first thing in the confession, Ntanzi says that he works in Carltonville. Now that is not true. If Ntanzi was indeed the person that was making this confession, why would Ntanzi say he's working in Carltonville when we all know that he worked in Rustenburg at the mines? Carltonville are probably the head offices, but we all are aware that Ntanzi works in Rustenburg. So apparently, according to the confession, Ntanzi says he works in Carltonville. Right. And in this confession, he says he received a call from Musfiso Nduli, who is accused number 5. And if you remember the previous confession, he said that he received a call from Umapisa. So contradictions already. And if these confessions were voluntarily taken, why would a person lie? Why would he lie if it's voluntary? Because I want to give the confession, so why would I lie? I've already said I've done the thing. I've killed the person, or I was involved in the murder. Why am I lying in my confession? Why am I 1 minute saying this person called me, 1 minute saying this person called me, if it is so voluntary? Question. So he says he got a call from Sfiso. He went to Foslo at the Basotho hostel, and at the hostel it was himself, Moses Bia, who is accused number 1, and Sfiso Ntuli, who is accused number 5, which is contradictory to what Zungu had said in his testimony, where he said Ntuli only arrived later. But according to Ntanzi, Ntuli was there, right? Let's forget about that contradiction. So it was the 3 of them, they were drinking. Ntanzi has given evidence before this court that he does not drink. But asikolap. Let's move on. He then says that later on, Carlos, which is accused number 3, as well as Mapisa, accused number 4, later then joined. So now this is basically saying all 5 accused were at the Basotho hostel on the said night. And then he goes on to say that they then drove off, all 5 of them, in one vehicle, a Polo. And when they left, they met up with someone else who was driving a Vivo, a Polo Vivo. Now, he doesn't mention the color today. So basically, there are now 2 Polos, which they're trying to align with Muzi's statement, basically, but it's not possible because the people in that said Polo is Usimpiwe. Now, this Simpiwe allegedly then gives 2 guns to Mapisa. Right? He gives 2 guns to Mapisa and then he drives off. When the guns are handed to Mapisa, accused number 4, Mapisa takes 1 gun for himself and gives Carlos another gun. Now, when entering the house, according to these confessions, 2 people were said to enter the house. Now, my question is, why would Mapisa take a gun when he's not going to enter the house? Why not give the 2 people that are going to enter the house a gun? But I see collab. Let's move on. So this is how everyone was situated when this incident happened, allegedly. Accused number 5 was the driver of the vehicle, so he was the getaway driver. That's what role he played. Accused number 4 was on the lookout by the windows in the house. So inside the yard was accused number 4, standing by the window, waiting if somebody runs away or etc., etc., with a gun. That was the role of accused number 4. Accused number 3's role, he entered the house, right? Entered the house with a gun and allegedly told the people to lie down. It's the first time we're hearing that the people in the house were told to lie down, because everyone in the house told us that they said cell phone and money, and that was it. Now today we're hearing lie down, bring cell phones and money. That was the role of accused number 3. Accused number 2 also entered the house, and according to him, he was terrified when the shots went off, and he had not mentioned that he had any weapon at the beginning. So at first he had not mentioned, right? And then accused number 1's role was to be on the lookout outside the yard of the Khumalo house. Now guys, how does this all tie up? Because according to the people in the house, there were 2 people that went out of the house before the shots were fired. So if these 2 people went out the house, why is it that accused number 4, who was outside the house, didn't see these people and didn't mention these people and didn't act to these people running outside the house? So where did Longwe run to? Let us go on to what happened inside the house. So basically, people were told to lie down, bring cell phones and money. And he then, accused number 2 then says that 2 shots were fired. Oh, before the shots were fired, Senzo allegedly hit accused number 3 with a chair. Now, it's the first time we're hearing the mention of a chair in this house. 2, there were no pictures of a chair. Zandi herself even said that she wasn't sitting on the couch because there weren't any chairs in the house. She was sitting on the edge of the couch. Now, where did this chair come from? Where did the chair come from? And why wasn't it in the photos of the things that were in the house? Because we saw the couches, we saw the TV stand, we saw the crutches. Where was the chair? That's my ask. Anyway, then a fight broke loose in the house. 2 shots were fired. Accused number 2 says he ran out. He got so scared, he ran out. And as he ran out, this is another interesting. As he ran out, accused number 4 ran into the house. And he says that he was at the car for a good 5 minutes before accused 3 and 4 then ran out. So if this was a hit, as they are alleging, why did they not finish off Senzo? Because Senzo was only shot once. And guys, knowing the history of hitmen, they do not shoot 1 bullet unless it's to the head. And that bullet hit Senzo in the chest. And from the evidence of the people in the house, Senzo was still able to walk. Why didn't the hitmen finish him off? I'm sorry if I'm being insensitive, but make it make sense. You're there for a hit, you shoot a person once, and you run off. And Danzi said all he did there was he collected money from a manager. Now this is funny because there was no mention of a manager from the people that were inside the house. No mention of money in a manager, right? And there's now a mention of a watch that was stolen, or that accused number 3 allegedly gave to accused number 2 to say, Nanti wash lako. Now, iwashi laban, and why wasn't that watch reported missing by the people in the house? Kuningi, guys. And then he then says he got paid 15,000 originally, and then got paid an additional 30,000. So in total, he got paid 45,000. Now my question is, if the hit was 100,000 as per the evidence that has been led before, if Dazi got 45,000, how much did the rest of the people in the house get? I mean, the rest of the hitmen, the rest of the accused, how much did they get if Dazi got 45,000? Please make it make sense. Now, Magistrate Cranier says after he had completed his whole confession, he then says, oh, you know what? There's some points that I've actually forgotten. Let's go back. When Simpiwe, the guy in the other Polo Vivo, gave Mapisa these 2 guns. Mapisa had his gun, Carlos had his gun. I never had a gun. And then he then goes to change and say, no, I had a small gun in my pocket. So now we're hearing that there were 3 guns at the scene. Guys, yo, kuningi. And kunini ngithi yo. Anyway, so that was the evidence led by Cronje. The main question that Mngomezulu touched on with regards to Magistrate Cronje, I'm not going to touch on Ramasubili because he really did nothing for me yesterday. Yesterday. I apologize if there is a change in sound. My battery just went flat. I can't use my mic, so I'm just recording without a mic. Okay, so Ramasubili literally did nothing for me with his cross-examination, but Mngomezulu touched on a very important aspect with regards to the difference between a confession and a statement. And with questioning Magistrate Cronje, it came to her attention and she actually admitted, she concedes that she didn't take a confession, she took a statement. So if Magistrate Cronje is saying this was a statement and not a confession, the ruling by the judge, then what happens to that? Like, what did he rule on? What did the judge rule on? Because that wasn't a confession according to Magistrate Cronje. Hectic stuff, but let us keep going. So basically those were the proceedings for the day. Radebe came to testify with regards to the photos of accused number 1 and also gave the statement of accused number 1. And guys, as I said, these are the things that I picked up on that are different in these statements. So let's start with accused number 1 statement. Accused number 1 says, firstly, the incident happened on a Saturday. There's no way, because we all know the incident happened on a Sunday. Secondly, the people that were involved were 3. And it is himself, Marco, and Makimba, right? And of those 3, he stood and was watching outside whilst Marco and Makimba went inside. Everything that happened after that is hearsay because he said they told him that this is what happened in the house. He says that they found 3 people, just Senzo and 2 ladies, which doesn't make sense because we know that there were 7. So that confession in J out. Then it's Ntanzi's first confession to Rapado, where he says, okay, incident did happen on a Sunday, okay, sharp. But the first thing is that he received a call from Mapisa, and this call was only received mid-October. And as I said, Ntanzi had already applied for unpaid leave from work. So if he received the call in October, how could he have planned months before to take leave during that period? Doesn't make sense. But anyway, received a call from Mapisa, and then they met with all the other accused. They made people lie down in the house with Carlos, accused number 3, and they were traveling in a silver Polo, and he was paid 45,000. That is what we know from the first statement. Oh, also the fact that he took money from a jar and cell phones, not a cell phone, cell phones. That is according to the first statement that he made with Rapado. Now, with the second statement that he made with Magistrate Cronje, the call was no longer from Mapisa, it's now from Sfiso, and it's on the same day of the incident. And now there's 3 guns all of a sudden. He also had a gun, which Tumelo never saw after he had punched him, while Senzo was holding his hands up and there was nothing in his hands. And Mtogo saw a sharp object. Guys, goningi. And then according to the statement, there was a watch also that was taken. And goningi. Oh, and then there's a Simpiwe that bring guns. And how did Simpiwe bring guns when Ntanzi is a well-known gun distributor? Why would Ntanzi not distribute guns for this job if he was such a bad person? So Guningi, guys, Guningi, those were the proceedings. And if you still believe that these confessions were voluntary, or if they were even made by the accused, get judge. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.